Hello and welcome to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Emerald Murade, and I'm so glad you're here. This space is devoted to real, raw, and radically honest conversations with some of the most magnetic, diverse, and wonderful humans I've had the honor of crossing paths with. From mystics to makers, teachers to truth seekers, this is a home for anyone craving depth, connection, and clarity. At the heart of this podcast is a mission to unshame the human experience. We're here to dismantle the silence, to bring to light what we've been taught to hide, and to reclaim our voices through storytelling. Whether we're unpacking grief, celebrating joy, exploring sensuality and identity, or getting curious about what it really means to live an authentic and meaningful life, nothing is off limits here. This is a community built through conversation, a place where you get to feel seen, embraced, and reminded that you're never alone. So get cozy, stay open, and let's get naked in the most soul-expanding, liberating way possible. Welcome to Naked Conversations. Hello, my darling friends. I am so pleased to be connecting with you today, and I'm feeling so grateful for you to be attending to this conversation, whether you're out for a walk, preparing dinner, just sitting down and absorbing the information and codes from this podcast and feeling entertained. I really hope that this conversation can elicit a sense of peace within yourself and possibly a bit more inquiry into some of the patterns that shape your life and that shape the path that you are currently walking. I wanted to share a little personal update before diving into this episode. I have been exploring and experimenting with some pretty potent plant medicine lately, and it feels as though that we are in a time of really deep remembrance of our truth and how to weave this truth into reality and into creation. And it honestly feels as though if you have been engaged in doing inner devotional work and interacting with the world around you from a place of deep honesty and integrity, then it seems as though everything in life is kind of speeding up and the opportunities that are arising for you might feel electric and exciting. And I also feel as though this entire year has been a feeling of letting go, of deep shedding of the person that you thought you needed to be or that society has set you out to be. And it really feels like a deep remembrance and a deep resonance with what's true within you. And what I've come to realize is that the only thing that's true is our relationship to Source. I know that this might be a little woo, if you will, particularly if you don't have a spiritual practice, or if you have felt disconnected from Source, which I know so many people have felt disembodied and separate from the current of life that is orchestrating it all, or who have felt as though their place on this earth has felt alien or uncomfortable to be in this 3D reality. But it truly feels as though there's a reawakening of spirit that is happening within each and every one of us, and it's enlivening us to really come into contact with what's true within us, for us to truly embody our purpose, whatever that means and whatever that looks like to the outside world, and really feeling deeply okay with it. And I know so many people are feeling lost and confused and overwhelmed and afraid of surrender, and I think that that's a really potent place to be in. I feel as though the word that's coming up is threshold for a lot of people as we start to walk towards a new level of consciousness that has never really been embodied on this earth before, or it has been, but it's been distorted and shamed and confused by millennia of indoctrination and fear and separation and othering that's been happening on this planet. And yeah, I just feel as though there's this kind of reawakening of a way to be in the world that is in integrity and true. And we live in a time that is incredibly exciting. In the span of human consciousness, we've never had this level of material comfort in the world. And it really does provide this new way of connecting and of relating to one another. The fact that I'm recording this message and this podcast that could theoretically reach somebody who is on the other side of the world is so exciting and so incredible. And it really does bring about a massive amount of potential for sharing ideas and of really connecting in a very deep way. So I wanted to give some reverence to that and to speak to that a little bit. And also the advances that we've had medically is really quite profound. So how can we start to weave with what's here and what has been built, and to bring about this deeper level of ancestral remembrance that we are part of something greater here on this earth. And the earth is really holding us as this jewel within the solar system that we can interact with and start to engage with in a deeper way. And that there is so much inherent wisdom in this earth and in this planet. And it's truly an incredible time. And I also feel as though this is a time of very deep remembrance of some of the ancient ways of being before patriarchy, before coloniality, before the disruptions to the planet that have caused this level of separation. It's really a time of remembering that and starting to bring that back into consciousness, learning to play again, learning to enjoy our lives, learning to express ourselves as emanations of the divine. And I use that word emanate as a signal, if you will, so that we can return to this kind of splendor of what it means to be in a body, what it means to be living on this earth, and this call to remember that spark of the divine that exists in each and every one of us, beyond the fear, beyond the conditioning, beyond this kind of amnesia of being human, that we each come into this world of dense energy. And remembering to walk this kind of spiral back to self, beyond story, beyond conditioning, beyond shame, and back towards truth. As we enter this holiday season, I know so many people struggle with traumas around the family, and it can be an opportunity for us to reconcile and to ask ourselves, how can we start to relate to this in a way that is compassionate and that can truly hold our experience in relationship and in harmony and in accord with what is going on around us? How can we carve out those spaces for ourselves in places where we might feel truly overwhelmed? And to come back to what is true within us, our own beat, our own rhythm, and how can we learn to dance with the rhythm that is around us? Another thing that's been dropping in for me lately is the consciousness of our ancestors, our living ancestors at the very least. They were living in a world that was completely and totally different than us. They didn't even have the capacities to recognize emotional well-being, which is something I know that many, many listeners of this podcast are concerned with. You know, the emotional, physical, mental, spiritual well-being of ourselves. This wasn't even in the lexicon of those who raised us. They were dealing with their own things, their own unmet needs, their own unmet traumas, and in each turn of the spiral, in each cyclical nature of life, in this, wheel of time, that lens is constantly being shifted and changed. And the relationship that we have to those living ancestors, be it our parents or grandparents, the people who raised us, they're coming at life from a totally different perspective than we are. And that is just the turn of generational time. So although we may be feeling a lot of triggers during that time, reminding ourselves to come home with compassion, that the hurt that may have existed within our family lines and within ourselves, this is something to be reconciled with us, through us, and in us. And if we can start to relate with compassion to the stories and to the hurt that exists in our lineage, and that will continue to be perpetuated in our lineage, relating to these deep feelings with compassion and love, recognizing that we are not perfect on this earth, that we are here to learn. And in this school of life, we are all doing our best to give that space of non-judgment to ourselves, to our families, to those that raised us, and to allow all of the feelings to truly be there and to sit with them. We actually can come to a space of healing that will ripple forward towards the generations in the future. And it can ripple even out towards our family line when we can meet those deeper things within us. So with that, that's the introduction to this podcast episode. I'm sitting down today with Sara-Lynne Marie, and she specializes in deep feminine psyche and shadow work. She is the creator of unapologetic and totally provocative containers and courses and mentorships, some of which are called Who's Your Daddy and Unbridled Femininity, where she leads women into the raw empowerment and truth of uncovering who they are beneath conditioning, fear, and self-sabotage stories. Sara-Lynne is known online as Shadow Madonna, and her work fuses somatic awareness, psychological clarity, and spiritual precision. And truthfully, she does not do surface level healing and goes straight for the patterns that run your life, especially those that exist relationally, the shadows that shape your identity, and the power you've been taught to suppress. Sara-Lynne Marie pushes people lovingly yet fiercely into the spaces they've avoided because she knows that's where real freedom is found. Her spaces are electric, intimate, creative, and often life-altering. They are places where women remember their confidence, reclaim their anger, and step into a presence that is unmistakably their own, coming back into resonance with their true selves. She's here to make the truth within you wholly again. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. However you want to absorb it, I hope that it's able to illuminate for you some very deep truths, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. So wonderful to have you today on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Now, remind me, where are you based, Sara-Lynne Marie?
I am in Lisbon area. I'm in Erie, Sarah. And I moved here like 4 weeks ago. I was living 8 years in Berlin before that.
Okay.
But originally, I'm from Vancouver.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't think it's any mistake that we're connecting. I'm actually heading to Berlin pretty soon. I'm going to see one of my favorite DJs in May.
Ooh,
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm so looking forward to it. Berlin is like very high on my list of places to go. So
Oh yeah. Well, I will give you all the details. 8 years will give you a good lay of the land for sure.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so looking forward to that. Oh my gosh. Well, it's such a pleasure to be connecting with you today. And thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. So I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of background about who you are and what you do so that the listeners get a better idea as to like your method. And yeah, I would love to have a little intro from you in your words.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sara-Lynne, Sara-Lynne Marie, and I specialize in feminine shadow work and psyche work. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about finding the little self-sabotage patterns that live within the feminine somatic experience, but also within the mind and the heart. And I love finding out all the ways in which the nice girl likes to show herself and reveal herself and then detox the living bleep out of it. So it's been a huge mission of mine to really allow women to get more in touch with their power, more in touch with what they're capable of.
Mm.
A lot of the time, these insecurities start to knock at their worthiness, and it feels very important, at least for what I'm here for and what I want to be doing on this planet, to trigger them, rattle them, and give them a little bit of like tough love. And at the same time, I think what allows me to do this work in a really cohesive and also very sustainable way is that I'm based on a lot of my methods are based really on trust and presence. And
Mm,
that is very holistic and very different than what I've seen, at least in this sphere of the feminine healing, which is
mm,
so big and so vast at the
mm.
moment.
Absolutely. I'm so
Mm.
curious that I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I'll start with my first, which is what was it that led you to this work? I know that a lot of the time, as somebody who is in a similar realm or who has worked with a lot of the shadows that are based in society, I know myself, I came to that work with a lot of things that I needed to kind of reconcile within myself. A lot of shadows that I had to like kind of see through, and a lot of illusions that I needed to see through within society in order to come back to myself. And it's an ongoing process. I don't think that shadow work ever really ends. But I'm curious for you if there was any kind of experiences in your like formative years or even in your childhood that kind of led you to, being an explorer of this realm.
Mm. Hmm. So the question is really about what allows me to connect with the shadows. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And if there's anything in your past that you would like to kind of discuss or, kind of explore as to
Hmm.
how you kind of navigated towards that.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, as most women do through heartbreak, right?
Mm.
Through like really earth-shattering, soul-ripping heartbreak.
Mm.
Yeah, as we must, right? I
Mm.
think I grew up really believing in love and really believing in marriage and and I was dancing competitively growing up and my best friend and I like we would in between our recitals look at wedding magazines that I had bought with my allowance that I got every week. So I was like really in there. I was really like eating what society was feeding me about love and the necessity for it and the necessity of the man
Mm. Mhm.
and what he brings and how I yearned for that.
Mm.
And I, of course, made it my subconscious mission to get into a lot of relationships where I was not met, where I was not seen, and where I got to relive the self-fulfilling prophecy of just being disappointed
Mm.
and unhappy
Mm.
and dissatisfied and feeling really deeply unworthy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I so hear
And then
you.
it's like, yeah, it's like, it's most women's experience. And I mean, I've done like 8 years of therapy, 3 years of coaching. Like, it took a lot of time and a lot of support to be able to dismantle that and to get
Mm.
to a point where it felt like, okay, I understand myself. And at some point, it doesn't matter if you understand yourself or not. It's when at some point therapy is like, okay, we've done enough of that. And then we get to a point where we really start to meet the edges of like the somatic experience and like integrating that. And that's
Mm.
more the tail end of my journey, which was more like leaning into like what happens in my body and how is that somatic experience in connection with my shadows and the ways that I love to make myself miserable.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. I think it's a lot easier to live in a familiar pattern than it is to kind of break through it, right? And I think society in general really, as you kind of stated or alluded to, it's like it's really kind of a patriarchal kind of conditioning that we're so in until we start to really notice those little things within our bodies or within our psyches where we're like, oh, I'm actually really deeply unhappy. And then we kind of can go on this healing journey that can be even in and of itself quite patriarchal as well, without even realizing that like you're trying to prove and fix and perform and kind
Mhm.
of change something within yourself when it's like that was meant to be met, not meant to be changed. So I think the
Mhm.
relationship that we even have towards it is so skewed until we can come into like a relationship with it, which I know you had mentioned in our little pre-chat. which I think, yeah, I think that we're coming into a paradigm of very deep integration of that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. It's very, yeah, very potent.
Yeah, I mean it's the actual work. And I think that this is what a lot of women just miss.
Mm.
They're like very tentative to taking care of themselves in whatever shape or form that looks like, whether they're like a self-love girly and they're doing all their wellness practices, or, they're like, oh yeah, I'm taking care of my mental health. I'm doing the therapy, they're doing all of these steps, but at some point there's like almost a like this word is so loaded, so I'm careful to use it, but like there is a faith and like spiritual aspect that kind of kicks in at some point when if you're really interested in understanding your soul and understanding why you're here, there is something mystic that happens, right? It's like it's undeniable. And
But
then you have to either like decide, okay, am I gonna lean into this now? Am I gonna really go into am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
of course, go for it. Please. It's
Like,
naked. Like we should be naked here talking too.
I love it. It's like at some point you need to decide, are you going to go into the fucking basement
Mm,
to take a look at what your soul is trying to tell you? And a lot of women get scared at this point because they're like, oh my God, if I go down there, am I going to be fucking crazy when I get back? And
mhm.
the answer is yes, you will. But and you will be forever changed
It's a
because
revolution.
yes, yeah, you'll understand freedom, you'll feel freedom, and nothing will be more important than the freedom that
Mm.
somatically you experience when you get down there.
Oh my goodness. Abso-freaking-lutely. I have a story to share on this, and it's very top of mind because I feel like it was such a catalytic moment for myself of doing all of the things, doing my manifestation work, going to therapy, every morning waking up and like being so diligent about the work, quote unquote. And there came a point this summer where I felt this call to just be in nature more often. And I live in Vancouver, and as you know, we're just surrounded here in Vancouver, BC, with like the most lush landscapes, and this land has so much power, and it's been stewarded for generations by land keepers and by the indigenous people who have been here for, millennia. So I felt really called to go into the forest, and I had this pivotal moment where I was on my moon time. I went to this sacred spot up in the Squamish Valley, just this kind of recreation site, which I'd been going to for a while. And I had my tent, which doesn't have like a catch over it. And I had my little mattress. And I'd taken a very small microdose of mushrooms. And I woke up. I was really moving through this like very deep feeling of like being alone in this. Like, no one will ever hold me. No one will ever be able to feel these things that I'm feeling on such a deep level, a deep sense of loneliness that I was deeply feeling in myself. And I had this moment where I just was wailing in the forest. And I was like, it felt like the first time where I'd ever really truly connected to it. Because we have so many stories within ourselves that come up in our 3D reality that where we're being constantly asked to like repeat that story, right? Like, oh, are you going to repeat this story, or are you going to lean in deeper? I think that that's kind of the current of life that is constantly moving. And I had this moment where I gave my blood back to the land, and I had this full release. And then every week I was going back to either this spot or a spot out in Chilliwack, which I was intuitively led to. And I was doing all kinds of land-based ceremony there, giving to the land, crying onto the land, like really just allowing myself to be cleansed. And something came over me where it was like, you are absolutely not alone with this. Like the land will hold you, like the elements will hold you. And this is something that I think is so inherently feminine and like so
Mhm. Yeah.
incredibly lost within our society, well, within Western society, of like this deep reciprocity with the land, with spirit. And I love that you just spoken to that, because I think once I've started to, kind of engage with the land in this way of really deep kind of giving without desiring anything in return, a true kind of reverence towards the land and towards life around me, I've been able to connect so much deeper with myself and so much deeper with the life that is living around me. And also from like kind of a detached place of like, I am not even in control of this. Like, why have I been so stewing in my mind for so long about these things? So the fact that you had spoken to this element and aspect of faith and spirituality, like a deep sense of that, I think is so incredibly, oh, it's so beautiful and so incredibly true and confronting, because I think that's what really ultimately we're here to do as humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Confrontation is the medicine. We just love to avoid it, especially when it's terrifying. Yeah, I totally understand, and especially when we start to trust that the elements will be there, that the
Mm.
land will be there, and we tune into actually that resonance, that like sensation of like, ah, this is where I'm meant to be going right now, or this is where I'm at right now.
Mm.
Like it shifts, it changes something because your nervous system ends up having so many more reference points of like, ah, okay, like if I go to Squamish and I go to this place, I know what I'm going to experience, and I'm like going there in prayer, I'm going there in devotion, and I
Mm.
think that changes a woman's perspective on trusting and having faith that it's going to be way more than just okay.
It's also, I feel like there's this kind of fear of the wilderness, right? The fear of the dark that's constantly being kind of brought up in society in a variety of different ways, of like fears of even just, fear of the snake, the demonization of the snake, which I'm sure we could go off on. These archetypes that are so kind of deeply coded and embedded into our psyches that we create fears around in a way. I think it's fascinating to me. It goes so deep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I felt like there's a time period in those 8 years that I spent 1 year back in Canada because I really felt that there needed to be a reckoning. And I
Mm.
spent almost 9 months on a remote island doing humpback whale and orca whale research. Yeah, and it was like really remote, like one cabin. Like if you wanted to go get food or like do laundry, you needed to get on a tiny like dingy metal boat and ride for 40 minutes. And then you were like back kind of in society. And like, yeah, those 9 months, they were like definitely no joke. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think, I mean, that among many other stories where I was very much in contact with the darkness, very much in contact with the unseen.
Mm.
Like it's hard to deny that. Like I think, most people who would have a chance like that would either immediately decline because of what could possibly happen there. And then there's those that feel intrigued and are like, yeah, but what is that darkness? And they look
Mm.
into it.
So fascinating. I'm
Mm.
I'm very curious. Are you a biologist as well? She encapsulates all facets of the goddess, this one, I feel. But
Well,
yeah.
like the simplest answer I could give is like, I'm a manifestor generator.
Oh.
I've done it all. As a dental hygienist, like I've just done it all. I don't know why, but I just have.
Wow.
And um no, I'm not a biologist. I'm not a marine biologist. It's not me, it's not my life, it's not my calling. I did learn the language of the orca whale though, which was really cool. Like they have different dialects, right? Like the northern and southern have, yeah. It's crazy.
Wow. I
Yeah.
would love for you to regale us with a whale call at some point. The
Well, the
rest of
most common one that is like that, like you can tell that they're excited is like, it's like one of the sounds that they make, and it's really, yeah, it's very sweet.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Wow, that was just a bit of a segue there.
little
A
side
little,
quest.
a little divergence, but it's all connected, I feel, at the end of the day. That's
Mm.
wow. That sounds like a phenomenal wow. I have no words for what that experience must have enlivened in you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also relationally, it was I was there with an ex-partner and um, yeah, hell on earth, heaven on earth, right? All the things that you
Mm.
can learn, with being with one person, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
um, yeah, I really was able to take a lot from doing an experience like that. And I always kind of look back at my life now and I'm like, oh, like how many decisions have I really made for men? Like how many decisions were really my decisions and how many decisions was I just tagging along? That's the saying,
Hmm.
right? Like you just tag along for the ride.
Yeah.
And that was definitely one of the decisions where I was like, oh, I'm definitely tagging along for the ride.
Wow.
And even when I was there, I was still like doing like versions of what I'm maybe doing on Instagram now, right?
Mhm.
And I sometimes am very hard on myself and I look back and I'm like, oh, I was just always tagging along, right? Whatever they wanted to do.
Mm.
But in reality, there's little like love notes from like past Sara-Lynne that's
Mm.
like, oh no, actually, you were working on yourself the entire fucking time. Actually, you were always online, maybe to a different percentage, but you were always there. And I think that's something that women really need to remember
Mm.
and also need to integrate in their daily lives. Is like, when have you really shown up for yourself? Like 100%. And when were times maybe 20 or maybe 40 or maybe like 75 that you remember as like an actual experience? And that can be as simple as like, oh, I'm going on a walk into the forest
Mm.
or doing a journey like what you described, or taking themselves on a coffee date. Like
Mm.
women need anchors in order to have a reliable reference point that allows them to go, okay, I trust myself to go beyond what I know and what I can see right now.
I
And
just had
that for
full,
me was like game changer. Go ahead.
I just had full chills when you said that. Like completely, completely. I'm currently in a container with women who are currently building their business, and somebody had mentioned on a call yesterday, this is the first time that I've ever actually done anything for myself, like for my like for me at my core and in my essence. Everything else that I've done in my life, university, jobs, everything else has been to appease others. And this is truly the first time I am stepping into my sovereignty as a person, like as a human being, and the
Yeah.
power that is behind that. Like this kind of unconditional trust that you can have within yourself to do those things that might be a little bit out there or scary or whatever that looks like for you. I think we all have certain bandwidths for what that is. I mean, personally, my
Mhm.
bandwidth is like it's quite out there. I lived for quite some time in sub-Saharan Africa in a very remote village, for example. So my personal kind of edge is quite large, but it doesn't matter really at the end of the day. Like everybody has their own capacities for these things. So if it is to take yourself on a coffee date, like that's a beautiful thing. That is an act of reverence and devotion for yourself, right? And doing it from like a very kind of yeah, self-reverent place, devotional place. Leaving your phone at home, not like not having any kind of distractions, just being with yourself in those moments, not
Yeah.
pretending to be anything else, just allowing what comes up to be there. That's
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's a profound, profound practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like it's the bare minimum. Like in my world, that's the bare minimum because, you know, if a woman is lucky enough to get to a point where she's like, I'm doing this for myself, she's starting to feel the sovereignty you just described.
Mhm.
It's like, fuck yeah, she got there.
Mhm.
And if she desires to be a mother in this lifetime, and I don't just mean like birthing a child, but like birthing a project or a business, she will have to sacrifice and she will once again have to grieve the sovereignty that she just got in her hands, grieve that as she's like literally needing to let it go and once again more for herself, once again go into transformation.
Mhm.
And if women don't understand like this sort of timeline that happens, regardless of where they're at in their life, and they don't have the tools for that, they're left in devastation and they're left in their victimhood and they're left in heartbreak and grievance that just goes on for days and years and it's becomes all consuming.
Mhm.
So I find it so important that like yes, it's a huge win to get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm feeling sovereign. I'm
Mhm.
feeling fucking self-responsible. And at the same time being like, that might change tomorrow. That might transform into something completely different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I feel you're speaking to is like being all right with the cycles and patterns that are here and that are constantly guiding our lives, right? Like we are constantly going through these iterations and yeah, transformations as women, and to be okay with the cycle of life that is here and now is, and not attach ourselves to the to that. It is a very, as we said, like to have that sense of sovereignty is a very powerful thing, but just to be okay and kind of detached from what that's going to look like in the future, I think is such, that's true power, because then you're aligning yourself to something that is much grander than you. And this movement from the triple goddess, right? Like Virgin Mother Crone, like to be able to move through these archetypes within our lives, if we are fortunate enough to reach cronehood, we need to be okay with where we are in this cycle with ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
Woo! Big work. It's big work. It's big work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's for those that are interested, for those that are devoted, that's that's also what ultimately sets free, right? And
Mm.
allows those old patterns and those old, stories to really have a chance to be written new.
Mm. Mhm.
And I think that that's sort of what sometimes gets like lost in like, yeah, these are like really grandiose and really like deep, deep processes. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, that if the thing that you're avoiding the most you finally face, do you know that that same degree is like equivalent to the amount of peace you're gonna feel, the amount of freedom
Mm.
you're gonna feel? And I
Absolutely.
think there's like a lot of lineage stuff, of course, that also goes, hand in hand with that.
Mm. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I also feel as though these, these deep kind of feelings or these things that we are deeply avoiding, it is kind of this fracture that like each human soul feels, right? Like these deep shadows of being alone or abandoned or rejected. These are things that we, as in our human form, we do not want to feel them. So we'll do everything that we can to avoid it, but yet it will come back in a spiral time and time and time again, as you said, within different realities and different, yeah, in different signs and symbols within our lives and through the passage of time. And until we meet them, then we are able to essentially catapult ourselves to a different level of awareness and a different kind of relationality between life itself. And as you said,
Mhm.
I think these are things that are spiraling, if you will, or kind of in relationship to ourselves all around us. So when we're able to really connect with it and be at one with it, then we are liberating not only ourselves, we're liberating 7 generations behind and 7 generations forward.
Ain't that the truth? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really curious, what's something that has like allowed you to feel like you've been able to like catapult yourself to that awareness? Like what's been something that's been helpful for you?
Oh my. Um, as I had mentioned, I've been doing coaching therapy, if you will, with someone who's deeply intuitive. So she doesn't even call herself a therapist, really. She's more of an intuitive, if anything. And last year, I did an exercise with her because I just found myself being so stuck in a pattern and a cycle. And even though I myself know I am like very deeply capable of anything I put my mind to, I felt myself just being completely hypnotized by like a victim mentality of like, that's for other people. So incredibly stuck in a story for a
Mm.
reason, because I felt it would protect me. But we did an exercise where I had written down my story, like the story as I saw it from birth till age 30, if you will. So it was writing this story without really thinking about it in like very plain terminology, not making it fancy, which is difficult for me to do when I'm writing, but writing it in very kind of base levels, and
Mhm.
then sitting down and reading it out to myself 3 times a day,
Wow.
sitting with the
Oof.
story, sitting with the story, reading it and seeing what emotions would come up and processing it in real time, doing it slowly as well, not reading through things, sitting with it and reading it slowly. That fundamentally shifted something for me because I
Mm.
felt myself have a separation from the story. And then last year as well, I'm trained as a social worker, and I was selected for this adventure therapy kind of experience that was held in Latvia. And that was a complete and total initiation. Latvia has so much land-based and earth-based knowledge. I'm not sure if have you ever traveled to
Yeah.
that part of the world? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Mhm.
Unbelievable, an unbelievable time. So essentially it culminated in like a shamanic experience. And my ancestry is Eastern European, and the root language of
Mm.
Latvian is very similar to the root language of Hungarian, which is where my ancestry is from. So it really felt like this deep remembrance of like, wow, there is something much deeper at play here that I am not even in control of. And if I can start to relate myself to that, then things will start to grow and change. So I think that my kind of level of awareness has been shifting for some time. I made a huge decision in my life after a massive heartbreak, where I moved to Vancouver and I became an exotic dancer. And that was partially born from a lot of internalized shame that I had around my own sensuality and sexuality. And I really felt like I needed to break through around that. And then this feeling of like a needing to like reclaim my sense of expression in myself. So I think those two things kind of dancing with one another over the course of the last 5 or so years has just brought me to a completely different level of awareness for myself, of knowing and very deeply feeling like I have my own back and that I can trust in the flow of life, that I don't necessarily need to control things, that things will unfold as they are meant to, and a kind of deep surrender
Mm.
around that, which I feel very, very deeply fortunate to have had the resources and the space to do that kind of work. I know that that's a privilege, a very deep privilege, but I have known for a very long time that I'm meant to do something very different in this world. And I haven't felt that same kind of support on the external. So I have given it to myself in a lot of ways. And now I feel I'm in this space where I can step into that and start to share that and start and actually receive from those around me rather than feeling constantly like I have to control. It's a very Jesus take the wheel kind of moment for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I appreciate you asking me that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. It sounds like, especially the story, that's like the most interesting part to me because that distance, like I can just imagine it like, yeah,
It's not for the faint of heart. I will say that.
yeah.
That was 4 months of doing that every morning. So that was really pivotal for me. And there was something that even happened after that that like brought me back into the story. And of course, it had to do with like a romantic relationship, which is like my absolute biggest trigger. And yeah, relationship in general, I think is my path to learning and growing and changing. And it's not an easy one. There are many things that I know collectively women struggle with, but insecurity and confidence aren't one of them for me. But feeling okay in relationship is definitely a hard one for myself. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been
Mm.
fascinating. It's been a fascinating kind of journey around that.
Oh my God, amazing that you know exactly where to look for your shadows.
Oh,
Hot.
exactly. Oh, precisely, precisely. I'm not sure if you know you probably know the book Romancing the Shadow.
No,
I have it right here.
no.
It's a
Ooh.
fantastic book. I'll share it. I'll share it, and I'll also link it in the show notes. But it's this one.
Hmm. Who's it by? What's the author?
It's written by Connie Zweig,
Ah,
and Steve Wolf. But essentially it has to do with yeah, like dating as shadow work. Like it has a lot to do with relationship and romance.
mm,
It's a phenomenal read. More of a study book
okay.
than a casual kind of, you read this book.
Yeah, yeah. Sweet, sweet little reading.
Yeah.
You know, I totally understand. Yeah, I think that's also like, I mean, like you said, it's where women struggle the most when it comes to really being in their center, really like feeling their spine be strong and their heart be soft.
Mhm.
Like this is the space, the relational space is where a lot of this comes up. And we're in confrontation. That's like you can probably get away with doing a lot of healing, like per se, in parentheses, healing. You can get away with a lot of that if you're on your own,
Mm.
but it's a lot like it's just like that quote, like you think you're enlightened, go spend like a week with your family. It's
Totally.
sort of the same thing. It's like, okay, you're gonna have the next partner. It's gonna be like new level, new devil. How are you
Totally.
gonna take it?
Totally. Totally. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh boy.
It's really like it's a super interesting topic and I'm really noticing also my work starting to like shift in that direction without me of ever having said, yeah, me, let me sign up for that. Like super naturally, like very organically, just also people approaching me and like really deciding like, hey, can you help me with my relational world? And I'm like, I actually can. I actually am going to be able to make a difference for you. And I know what it feels like when you feel like totally lost also like in the story, you
Mm,
know? Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a fascinating thing though too, hey. I mean, when it comes to like the story and the protections that we have against like around ourselves to truly facing those things, that is so it's so present in relationship. Like that's exactly the place where it comes to be witnessed.
That's it. Yeah. And I wish more women knew exactly what you just said because I mean, just like as a like as an added value thing, like if you're in a relationship and something is coming up and you feel like resistance to it, check in with yourself. You probably have a part of yourself right now that's coming up wanting to protect you.
Hmm.
And like this is why I'm like right now my work is so much focusing on like who's your daddy? What are your little daddy issues? Like, come here, baby girl.
Hmm.
Sit down. Let's talk about it.
This is a
And
complete.
that's it. It's like if you're gonna find out who's been protecting you in those moments, and you're gonna find out like really the hot wire to like this is like I'm just hacking, throwing some hacks out there, but like really, if you want to get good at this stuff, it's like your protector literally just needs a Cinderella moment. That's what I call it. You need a little dusting, and then she's going to twirl around. You're going to find out that your protector, the one that has been protecting you and creating like havoc in your relationships, in your business, in your whatever, you're going to find out that it's actually a really, really sweet little one, a really, really sweet little girl or teenager. And it's like, it's always the story.
Mhm.
It's always the story. And it's like, and it never gets old. You might think it gets old, but it never fucking gets old. And
Mhm.
I think that as soon as women are able also to like integrate more of like, okay, if they don't need to be the protectors anymore,
Mhm.
and I can channel my own daddy energy, which is, of course, like I think you were about to say like an entirely different topic, but like deeply connected. It's like things change.
Do they ever? No coincidence that this is a topic that we're chatting about today. I had a bath last night and I did a meditation around reorienting myself to the divine masculine,
Mm,
which
my
is
favorite.
it's the
I
same,
love it.
right, as orienting yourself to a father, if you will, and how distorted in our society we have like the patriarchy is not
a representation of the divine masculine in any way, shape, or form. Yet we are in this kind of paradigm. So of course we have these fathers who have been impacted by patriarchal conditioning in society and all of the mentality, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional that go along with that. So of course they're not able to show up in their fullest expression. The men are really hurting, really hurting. And our own inner
Yeah.
masculine is very, very wounded. Many. Like, show me a
Oh,
woman
yeah.
who has had a strong, stable father figure and a strong, stable mother figure. Show me a woman.
Yeah. And even when they are,
Of
other shit happens.
course,
It's
of
like,
course, of course, of course. No one gets out of this
yeah,
unscathed.
yeah, yeah. And it's like if you can give yourself grace, if you can like give yourself the compassion necessary to understand like what those layers of what you just explained really means, like on a somatic level, the fact that your nervous system has maybe never in its life ever seen a regulated man
Mhm.
through conflict. Like, yeah. And then and then it's like, well, no wonder you don't know where to start. No wonder you don't know how to connect with your inner masculine. No wonder you don't know like how to channel your inner daddy. Like, no wonder. No
Mm.
wonder. Like, come here. Let me give you a hug. Like, fuck, that's sad.
It's fucking sad. It
Yeah.
really is. And then it kind of takes, I feel like it almost takes the pressure off of the healing in a lot of ways. In the sense that, like, well, you just never had, like, that was just not in the consciousness, it wasn't in the awareness to have experienced that in your family line, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's an intergenerational thing as well as a personal somatic experience. It's like no one has experienced that in likely thousands of years. So of course you're
Yeah.
not going to know how to orient yourself to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And then building like the foundation so that you can even start having the conversation with the inner masculine is like, yeah, well, at some point you're going to need to build the courage and also the confidence to even bring that into contact in your inner world and your inner psyche.
mm,
And that's a journey in itself, right?
totally.
Like if women are out there like running around like, call like really deciding that, they want to find the man and they're, inside of them they just have a weeping little girl. It's like, well, honey, you're not gonna find the man. You're not.
You're
And
going
I
to
hate
find
yeah, you're
same
going
circle over cycle over and over again until that's
yeah, yeah,
resolved.
exactly. Yeah,
Truly.
yeah, yeah. And it's like if it'll keep repeating until you get your ass up and you walk towards your inner little girl and you love her right.
Mm. Then it doesn't, the whole kind of joke of it, I feel, is also then it doesn't even matter. Like if the man
Exactly.
comes, quote unquote, right? Like
Exactly.
then you kind of lose a detachment towards it. It's like, well, I've done it for myself, and anybody that comes into this field is going to meet that level. And that's a whole journey too, right? Of detaching yourself to the outcome of whatever your life is going to look like or whatever you thought your life should look like. That's a
Yeah,
whole
absolutely.
reorientation towards authenticity in and of itself too, right? Like, well, what is right for
Totally.
me? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my relationship to look like? It doesn't necessarily need to look like everybody else's. And that's
Yeah.
like,
And that's a tough thing all the time when you're in a relationship to be in confrontation with.
mm,
Because you think, okay, like I've done it all, I've done the work, da da da, we're here now, we're in a healthy, it's a healthy dynamic. Fuck. Like my old love ideologies are still having a manipulative effect because I was told by society or by my mother, by my whomever, that this is what it's meant to look like, right? We're talking conscious, like imagery, and then also there's subconscious imagery of that.
Mm.
And then you're like, ah, shit, okay. I thought I was healthy. I thought this is like all good, which, it most likely is if you get to that point. But, you again have to go through a dismantling and disillusionizing process of like, it's not going to look how you thought.
Mm.
It's not going to be the experience that you maybe even want, but it is maybe the experience that you need.
Always. It's always the experience you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And
What
like
a
having the
truth bomb.
self-trust of that is like, it's
Truth
like
bomb.
it's like I'm like I would love to sit here and be like, it's all like it's all gonna be like okay, which it is. And like I'd love to say it's easy, but the reality is like I'm really here to say it's not.
Mm.
It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. It might not ever be easy, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe it was never about being easy. Maybe it
Mm.
was about feeling yourself. Maybe it was about experiencing your tears on your cheeks as you grieve the most incredible heartbreak or loss, or maybe it's more about feeling how invigorating it is to be a woman. Maybe that's the story.
Yeah.
And not for the faint-hearted, as you said.
Not
And on the same
for
time, it's
faint-hearted.
like, well, that's what it's about. Like,
That's what we came here to experience ultimately on this earth plane.
yeah,
It wasn't meant to be easy. It was meant to be met.
yeah, absolutely.
My my prophet moment. But no, I mean, I've been on, I'll be perfectly candid here. I've been on a bit of a journey with a girlfriend of mine who is a plant medicine facilitator, and she's getting her certification as a DMT facilitator. And I've been on this kind of journey with her over the course of the last month or so. So this is still very fresh for me of um yeah, just kind of recognizing this like duality that is constantly at play around us, right? Where we're constantly being met with the deeper layers of things. And it's really about our orientation towards it. So it ultimately it wasn't meant to be easy. That was never the point of it. But you can be in flow with it. That's kind of the medicine of it, this whole kind of dance that's constantly going on around us. It's like, okay, I can see this, I can vibe with it, but then coming back to this centered self of knowing who you are. And I truly believe that that is the work of the feminine psyche. It's like I can be at peace with what is here and in the flow of it all, but coming back to the center and this sense of self is it's massive and it's so
Mm,
incredibly healing. So
yeah, absolutely. How is it for you, like coming back to that center? Like, how do you experience that?
when I get very quiet,
Mm,
when I get very quiet and I'm able to turn down the noise of everything in a world that is constantly overstimulating everything, coming back to the darkness, I think that there's such a solace in that, living cyclically, listening to my body, um, and getting away from this like proving and performing and trying to be somebody that I'm not. There's like
mhm.
a real like radical moment around that. And also having fun.
Oh my God, yeah.
Having fun. Like it's not all so serious, really. That's really where I find the most centered self is like, okay, I can do all of this work. I can, be in this space of deep contemplation and reflection, but yet at the end of the day, I can still go out and have fun at a rave, and be totally in that experience and in that moment and be aligned with that without having to put any kind of boundaries around that. It's like, well, if I want to take drugs, I'll take drugs. Like that'll be fine. I don't have to say, well, I'm a spiritual person and that's going to affect me. And like I don't need a story around that anymore. Like it doesn't matter really at the end of the day. Like you are you in all situations. You don't need to have these layers on layers around yourself anymore. That's where I find that I feel most true and most free and most liberated.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would ask you that same question, my darling.
Hmm. I think that the more I've learned to be in tune with what wants to move through me,
Mm,
like the more I've practiced and really gotten to a place where it's like empty vessel, empty vessel. And like I say God, but you can replace it with whatever you want, but just like God, use me,
mm,
flow through me.
mm,
And like opening up like really like a deeply ritualistic space. And for me, that often happens in the bathtub, like lighting the candles, putting the fucking herbs in the bathtub. Like I say it like in a condescending way because I think it's like a joke. It's funny. It's funny to be so fucking serious about ritual. At the same time, it's like, well, it fucking works, so I'm gonna keep
yeah.
doing it, you know? And going into that, right? And like I have certain playlists that I just like plug in and I'm like, I can and I will create whatever experience needs to happen in
Mm,
my psyche, and I will find my answers by just listening.
mhm,
And then I'm having the music on and I'm like going in there. I'm getting really attuned to like what's going on in my body and just seeing what images want to come up. Like I think that's, it's not a coincidence that women birth children. It's not a coincidence that we hold death and birth. Like, like of course we can see. And I
mm,
don't just mean like what meets the eye, I mean like really, really see
mm,
and like not just the biology of that, but also the yeah, the how would I put this? Like the divinity of that with the masculine
mm.
dance as well, right? The
Absolutely.
role of the feminine, right?
Absolutely.
And I just noticed that when I do these things, and I've done them enough, I've done them plenty, that it's just like
Mhm.
I'm in
Yeah.
and it's like a muscle. And there's a lot of like for me, integrity is like so, so important to me. So it's like always like if I do this or if I, take action, it's like if I go to the mirror now and I look at myself, like really look at myself, can I live with myself?
Mm, mm,
And like it's kind of tying into what you were saying about like the story. It's like, yeah, if we just remove the story and just tap into like the essence of like, can we live with ourselves with this decision or with this feeling or with whatever's coming up?
mm,
It's probably your answer. And
mm,
for me, that like that's my North Pole. Like that's what allows my spine to be like so fucking erect and like so fucking receptive
mm,
to what God wants to move through me and like so precise with how I can like encapsulate the shadow that I see within myself, but
mm,
also, of course, within women, right?
mm,
It's like that's my work, that's my service, that's my devotion. Like I have no interest in doing anything else besides like living and focusing on that.
mm.
And that requires centeredness. Like it just does all the time.
It's so fascinating to me what I am hearing you say, and that is like this kind of alignment with the mystery,
Definitely.
being at one with it and choosing to be at one with it, which is so deeply forgotten in our society, and it is incredibly radical to do such a thing. I'm
Mm,
going to meet it. I'm going to meet what is here and now within me, around me, in my relationships, connect, 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 connect with it. And as you said, women can see that, see in like in the broader sense of that term, we can connect with that. And that is truly what I think that the world is desperately needing right now. Going forward in human evolutionary terms, this actually, even from, in my mind, it goes beyond the duality of masculine and feminine. It's like the connection with all that is.
Yeah.
Every level. Now we're really getting mystical with it.
Yeah, no, it's big picture stuff. Yeah.
Big picture stuff. Big picture stuff. Oh my goodness. And you've been a dancer. So that's like, that is so interesting to me. There is something about dance, about the rhythm, about the beat that can enliven that within us as well. I find myself when I'm dancing.
Mm.
It's a huge part of my life, and it's something that I hadn't done since I was a child, and then I brought it back in the strip club, and now I do it in my, like, I'm dancing all the time in my living room, moving energy, having fun, crying. Like there's no place in myself that dance can't touch.
Yeah.
Or there's no place that dance doesn't touch.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so grateful you just said that, because I think that that's like, if a woman were to start anywhere, would be fucking right there. It's like, put on a song, move your body,
What
see
comes
what
up?
happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
See what comes up. I'm
Yeah.
part of a dance community here in Vancouver, and you can always see the, like, where people are like holding back in their bodies. It's a direct reflection of the psyche. Direct. If a woman feels uncomfortable in her body, then there's a discomfort in their psyche. Like it's so connected. It's so connected, and dance and music is the bridge to it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. 100%.
Whoa. This has
Hmm.
been such a wow. This has been such a illuminating conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the space and the time to talk about these really, really important and relevant topics for women. And yeah,
I'm curious.
that's the magic.
Truly, truly. I'm curious where people can find you, if you want to speak a little bit about the offerings that you have.
You can find me on Instagram. The name is Shadow Madonna. You can't miss it. There's a little dot between Shadow and Madonna. And you can DM me and you can talk to me about what's happening in your psyche. You can talk to me about what is relationally your pain point. You can just come talk to me. And I have many offerings that are happening parallel, so I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but I'm doing master classes every month, and I have a couple more long-term programs happening that are totally woman focused. And then there's also a potential men's and women's group that's opening up, which I think will be very interesting. It's in a collaboration. And I'm here to be of service. I think that's the most important thing to say. It's like, I really don't need anything from you. I just want you and desire you to arrive and to meet the mysticism, just as you so eloquently said.
So wonderful to have you here today, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here and for letting this naked conversation move you. If something stirred in your heart or body, or if you felt seen, softened, awakened, or curious, I'd love to know more. Come find me on Instagram and share what touched you. The intention is to make this a living and breathing relationship, not just a performance. And if you're longing to go deeper, to be met in the raw, and to tend to what's ready to unfold in your soul's calling, my one-to-one sessions are an intimate container for that, where we meet soul to soul, body to body, and in devotion to your truth and your light. You'll find details in the show notes. Until next time.